Forum, Kerala. The 51st National Safety Week commenced yesterday, and the theme for this year is Nurturing Young Minds, Develop Safety Culture. This theme apt for this subject because we have to nurture young minds by giving them education. That is, the basic requirement is laws and regulations of the country. So we have started our webinar series on OSH 2020 code from today. This OSH, Occupational Safety, Health and Working Condition Code 2020, it replaces 13 laws simplified in this code. This code was introduced by the Labour Minister and passed on the same day on 22nd September 2020, and on the very next day Rajya Sabha passed the bill. And the President has also given assent on 28th September 2020. Now this has to come into effect. So here we are blessed with Shri Pramod sir, who is the Director of Factories and Boilers, and who is very innovative in safety related matters. He supports all innovations in safety related matters. And he is also chairman of National Safety Council Kerala chapter. So today we are blessed. I welcome you, sir, here. And also we are blessed to have Varkiachan Pettah. He is also a resource person of National Safety Council Kerala chapter. He was head in Human Resources Department in Hindustan Construction Company, Mumbai. And later he joined Bhagiratha Engineering in Ernakulam and English India Clay Limited in Trivandrum. And he is a consultant and trainer. And the topic selected for this day is actually very good. It is apt to the theme selected by the National Safety Council. And this year another attraction is the theme. Whatever the theme followed by us is the theme given by our headquarters. That is also another attraction for this year. Normally the theme varies, and the first question asked by the people why the theme changes widely, that often asks us. Yesterday we had a webinar, a physical webinar at National Safety Council Kerala chapter. And from today onwards up to 10th, we have got a cluster of webinar series on different subjects, that is to educate younger minds on various topics. So I welcome you all to the webinar series, Pramod sir, Varkiachan sir, Nandakumar sir, and to all my colleagues, welcome you all, sir. Okay.
Thank you, Dr. Ramesh. This year, we had a flurry of activities to create safety awareness in public through various forums. And this includes the multiple safety-related competitions, events, and programs by National Safety Council Kerala chapter, as also the many initiatives from the Department of Factories and Boilers, Government of Kerala. The theme for this year's safety, Nurture Young Minds, Develop Safety Culture. Suraksha Ratham, an innovative initiative by Department of Factories and Boilers, has been doing yeoman service in reaching out to the young students at their doorsteps and spread the message of safety. We all know that Suraksha Ratham is the brainchild of Shri Pramod, Director of Factories and Boilers, Government of Kerala. He has been a constant source of support, encouragement, and guidance in all the activities of NSC-Kerala chapter and HSC forum. We are lucky to have with us today Shri P. Pramod, Director of Factories and Boilers, Government of Kerala, and Chairman of National Safety Council Kerala chapter. It is a proud privilege and honor to have Pramod sir for inaugurating the safety webinar series. It's time to hear from him the message of safety and formal inauguration of the program. Over to you, Pramod sir.
Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Respected Secretary of the National Safety Council of Kerala, Dr. Ramesh, respected convener of the HSC forum, and Vice President of Kumi, Shri Nair Nandakumar, eminent experts who are handling classes during this webinar series, like Shri Varkiachan Pettah is a very eminent expert in legislation and laws and other matters connected with the labor laws. And participants who are attending this 6-day webinar series, good afternoon to you. So actually, it's my pleasure and privilege to be a part of this 6-day safety webinar series. And also, I'm extremely happy for inviting me to inaugurate this webinar series session organized by the HSE Forum of National Safety Council of Kerala. I think that this is the first time the HSE Forum, as well as I think this is the history of this is the first time in the history of the HSE Forum as well as National Safety Council of Kerala. We are organizing a 6-day webinar series related to the safety. I don't know because I am most of the time I am very cooperated with the is very cooperative in with the National Safety Council activities. But I don't know such programs happened earlier. So this is the first time they are organizing. I hearty congratulations to Mr. Nair Nandakumar, is the convener of the HSE Forum, and also members of the HSE Forum for organizing this such a wonderful event, especially in the context of National Safety Day. So my humble submission to the HSE Forum is to don't make it as an event connected to the National Safety Day. This should be a continuous, continual safety education program. Make it as a CSE program like that. So this is my humble submission to the HSE Forum. I think so. In coming days, you have to organize this type of programs so that more people will get information about not only about the safety legislations, everything, disasters, like everything, like so. Such type of program should be organized. This is my humble suggestion from my part, and as discussed in this by the Mr. Nair Nandakumar as well as Dr. Ramesh. Yesterday we celebrated observed the National Safety Day. This was the 51st National Safety Day, and the theme is Nurture Young Minds, Develop Safety Culture. So, so the present context, this theme is very important. So, why I am saying is that if we analyze the accidents during the year 2021, it is not coming down. It is increasing. As per the State Crime Records Bureau statistics, around 3,426 persons died in road accidents. If you go through the Electrical Inspectorate statistics, accident statistics, around 242 persons died in connection with the electrical accidents. This is only death cases. The injuries are more than that. As per the Hindu newspaper report, around 870 persons died due to drowning. And regarding the industrial accidents that is connected with the factories, which is coming under my purview, around 15 workers died during the last year. So, and the construction accidents are much more than that. So, I don't have the correct statistics on that. So, this is the accident scenario in Kerala. So, it is not, so even though, the past 2 years, the industries are suffering from COVID. And we suffered a lot of, and I think it was not, most of the time it was not properly worked, and even though the man hours are very less compared to the previous years. So even though in such a situation also, the accident happened. So the statistics says that accident is increasing day by day. So in this context, this theme is very important. So this is a challenge for as far as the safety professionals are concerned. So you all know the United Nations Sustainable Development Goal 2030. There you are well aware of that. There are around 17 goals are there. The goal 8.8 focuses the reduction about the reduction in industrial accidents as well as occupational diseases. So based on that, I think the European Union is already come up with the one conference, that is the second strategic conference on occupational safety and health. So in which they put a pillar, so many pillars. The fifth pillar focuses Vision Zero accident. So you may be aware that in the year 2018, the Department of Factories and Boilers organized one international conference in association with DGUE Germany. So actually, this is also based on the Vision Zero concept. So they already started the Vision Zero concept, and they are transferring the knowledge in safety to other countries also. They are supporting India. And like that, we conducted that. We organized that seminar in 2018. So ILO, International Labour Organization, they already started a program, decent work and economic growth. These are two sides of a coin. Like decent work, what decent work includes? Decent work includes safe and healthy working environment. So actually, ILO is working on that aspect. So these are the major challenges that we are facing. So our ultimate aim is to reduce the number of accidents. So at the same time, so many opportunities are there. You all know, you are aware of the Industry 4.0 concept. It consists of artificial intelligence, robotics, IoT, data analytics, etc. I'm not going into that. But so many industries, especially in Kerala, so they started artificial intelligence powered safety systems, equipments, etc. And some of the industries started IoT powered safety systems, safety equipments, like that. So the technology, they are utilizing the most modern technology in occupational safety. So definitely this type of things will reduce the number of accidents, because 88% of the accidents are mainly due to unsafe action. That is our active behavior. So we cannot eliminate fully the unsafe action or adverse behavior. 100% is not possible. But in such a situation, this Industry 4.0 concept is very important. And my request to the all industries is to utilize the recent most modern technologies in artificial intelligence and robotics and other things, so that we can reduce the accidents. So another opportunity is that you are well aware of the recent legislation in occupational safety and health. Occupational Safety and Health Working Condition Code 2020 was enacted by the Government of India, and within a short period of time it will be notified in all the states of India. And the Government of Kerala is also coming with the Kerala Occupational Safety and Health Working Condition rules. And at the same time, another important thing is that the Government of India is coming with the standards and codes above that. So this is a new thing. So they have introduced in this code as well as the rules. So if you, I think some of the are aware of the Code of Federal Regulations of USA, that is Occupational Safety and Health Administration of USA. They are enforcing Code of Federal Regulation. So there, this is in similar to that. So our DG Facility, Director General of Factory Admin Service and Labor Issue, they're already in the in developing standards and codes for especially for risky jobs like confined space entry, other type of works. So these are very actually industrial people are concerned, or employees are concerned. This is a good opportunity to adopt such standards. So this will also reduce the number of accidents. So actually, and above that, regarding I'm the chairman of the National Safety Council of India. So actually, National Safety Council of India Kerala chapter is also coming with a lot of programs. So actually, we already started motivation program for school students, college students, engineering college students, and also initially National Safety Council started the training programs only for the workers. So now we are extending this type of programs to school students also. Look, because you know the theme is very important, because we have if you because why I am saying is that normally we say that catch the young. So we have to inculcate the safety culture among the students. So if you, after a period of 10 or 15 years, whenever this student become an employee of an organization, so definitely this culture will be there. So there is no need to say that you have to use personal protective equipment, you have to adopt safety standards, you have to adopt safety systems. Such instruction may not be is not required at that stage. So definitely this will, because if you look at certain developed countries, so this type of culture is there. But in India, especially in Kerala, this type of culture is. That's why this type of accidents are increasing day by day. So the theme is very important in the present context. And so my humble request to HSC Forum is this type of wonderful programs we have to organize, and we have to educate all, not only the safety professionals, not only the managers, workers or supervisors, but we have to propagate these type of programs to the public as well as the students, to reach the students. So I think I hope that Mr. Nair Nandakumar can do wonderful things in considering the objective of Mission Zero. So because I think he already started some programs for school students also. Definitely HSC Forum, because HSC Forum consists of so many safety professionals are there. So and their knowledge is very tremendous. They can transfer this knowledge to the young generation. This is my humble request to the HSC Forum also, and considering the subjects included for the 6-day safety seminar, all subjects are very important, and the faculties are very eminent experts in this, especially electrical accidents, electrical safety portion is there. A lot of so many subjects are included, and behavior-based safety, lot of things are there. So definitely this will sensitize our safety professional as well as the members of the HSC. So our duty is to propagate the basic things about safety to our young generation. So that we have to do in the this year. And, I hope that by 2030 we will be able to achieve our Vision Zero accident objective. This is my my ambition also. Is the department not? I cannot promise that the department alone can do this thing. So this is a cooperation of all management, the trade union, and workers, as well as all. This is a cooperation of all and public, students. Definitely, we can achieve all this objective of Vision Zero. So, with these few words, I formally inaugurate this 6-day safety webinar series organized by HSC Forum, and my once more I congratulate Shri Nandakumar and HSC Forum members for organizing this type of programs. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Pramod sir, for that inspiring talk and great leadership in guiding various safety initiatives of National Safety Council Kerala chapter and HSC forum. As you said, sir, irrespective of COVID restricting activities, accident rates have shown no respite, and it is on increasing trend and cause for alarm. As you suggested, we promise that we will not restrict our activities due just to safety month or week, rather make it a practice in everyday life and try to realize your dream of zero accident by trying to take it across to up to the students level, sir. As mentioned by Pramod sir, the Occupational Health, Safety and Working Conditions Code 2020 seeks to consolidate and amend the outdated 13 central labor laws. Kerala government has published the Draft Act 2022. To know about the salient points, features of the new act and implications of the proposed amendments, we have with us an eminent speaker, Shri Varkiachan Pettah. So Varkiachan Pettah is a gold medalist from University of Kerala, has very wide experience in several industries. He is Chief Faculty of Labour Laws, Institute of Personnel Management, Kerala, Chief Consultant for Kerala Productivity Council, Faculty for ISRO Trivandrum, National Safety Council, and many other organizations and institutes. He is an excellent trainer, coach, and consultant. Mr. Varkiachan Pettah is also a subject matter expert in Occupational Health, Safety and Working Conditions Code. It's our honor to have him with us to share on the topic and also clarify whatever doubts we have on the subject. Each of the slides that he may present today would throw up a number of doubts. I would request the members to hold on to their doubts and then clarify them at the end of the session so that we have a smooth flow of the presentation. I now invite Mr. Varkiachan Pettah for the talk on insights into implication impact of new Occupational Health, Safety and Working Conditions Act for Kerala Industries. Sir, please.
Respected Pramod sir, Dr. Ramesh, Secretary, Shri Nandakumar, officials of National Safety Council and all dignitaries who are participating in this seminar. A very good afternoon to all of you. First of all, let me express my sincere gratitude for giving me this opportunity. Now, without wasting any more time, we will straight away go to the subject. See, many of you are very conversant with the labor codes. But for the benefit of those who are not so familiar with the labor code, we will spend 5 minutes. What is this labor code? What is the history? How this has come into being? See, the multiplicity of labor legislations was always a problem in India. You look at the number of legislations which are going to be consolidated, it starts from 1923, starting from the Employee Compensation Act 1923 and the latest 2008 Social Security legislation for the unorganized sector. So almost 90, 100 years, the span of, it spread a span of about 100 years. So the multiplicity of labor legislations was always a problem. Then another problem was the labor being a subject matter in the concurrent list of the Constitution. 7th schedule of the Constitution says, yes, what are the items on which central government can legislate? What are the items on which state government can legislate? But there is a third list, which is known as the concurrent list, on which both the center and the state can make legislations. Labor being a subject matter in the third list, that is in the concurrent list, apart from about 44 central labor legislations, there is umpteen number of state legislation starting from Shops and Commercial Establishment Act and so many other welfare legislations, etc., etc. Nobody has got the exact number how many state legislations are there, but if you put together, it will be something between 150 to 200 state legislation. So so then imagine the situation of a company who is operating in the all India level. The number of legislations which they have to understand, study, and implement, it was really a problem. Unlike in some other countries, there was never an attempt to consolidate these labor legislations. So, therefore, when second National Labour Commission was formed in 1999, under the chairmanship of Dr. Ravindra Verma, a few recommendations. There were many reference points. There were many recommendations. But for today's discussion, let us understand what were the main reference points and what was the recommendation. First of all, one of the reference point was, how can we codify these about more than 40 central labor legislations are there? How can we codify these labor legislations? This was one reference point. Second, many are very old legislations. Occasionally, some amendments has come, but whether it is in consonance with the requirement of the industrialist or for doing ease of business, is it appropriate, or some amendments or the modifications are required. And third reference was, see, on a rough estimate, it is calculated that 50 crores of people are working in India. Out of that 50 crores of people, only 5 crores of people has got social security cover. Look at the membership of Provident Fund. It has got 5 crores. Rest of the 45 crores, they are also working. They are also working for the country. They are also contributing for this country, but they are out of the net of the social security. So therefore, the third reference was, how can we at least an umbrella legislation to protect them, to bring them under certain social security legislations. So this National Commission was formed on 15th October 1999, and Dr. Ravindra Verma is basically a Malayali from Kerala, but a very learned person because he was the labor minister in the Morarji Desai government from 1977 to 79. This committee has gone into the details and submitted its report on 29th June 2002 to the Vajpayee government. So, one of the recommendations with regard to the consolidation of the labor legislations was, the central labor legislations can be codified under 5 headings. That is, wages, industrial relations, social security, safety, working conditions, and environment. Then there's so many discussions, tripartite discussions, so many things up to 2014. So many discussions took place. On the basis of that discussion, though the commission has recommended 5 headings, finally, the government has decided to consolidate these labor legislations under 4 headings. So what they did is, the first 3 remained as it is: wages, industrial relations, social security. The 5th one, safety, the 4th one, the safety, and the 5th one, working conditions and environment, that has been made into one code or one heading, and that is how Occupational Safety, Health and Working Conditions Code has come. So this code has many specialities. So though we were hearing that the courts are going to consolidate 29 central labor, 44 central labor legislations, ultimately what is codified is 29 central labor legislations. So there are 4 central labor legislations in the Code on Wages. That is Payment of Wages Act 1936, Minimum Wages 1948, then Bonus Act 1965, and Equal Remuneration Act 1976. This constitute the first code, that is the Code on Wages. Second code, in fact, there are only 3 central legislations, but it's very, very important because the Industrial Disputes Act 1947 is contained in that code, which is applicable to every establishment. So it contains 3 central labor legislations: Trade Unions Act 1926, Industrial Disputes Act 1947, and the Industrial Employment Standing Orders Act 1946. Then comes the Social Security Code. It is a consolidation of 9 central labor legislations like Employee Compensation Act, then the ESI, Provident Fund, then the maternity benefit, payment of gratuity, cine workers and cinema theatre workers cess act, building and other construction workers cess act, and unorganized workers social security act 2008. Then comes our final, the code is the Occupational Safety, Health and Working Conditions Code. Because see, this was suggested under 2 headings. This was made under 1 heading. Therefore, the maximum number of central labor legislations are contained in this code. This code contains 13 central labor legislations. So the total is 29. 4 in Code on Wages, 3 in Industry Relations, 4 plus 3, 7, 7 plus 9, 16, 16 plus 13, 29. So, though we were hearing that 44 central labor legislations are going to be consolidated, ultimately what is consolidated is 29 central labor legislations. Then now, all the legislations contained in this Occupational Safety, Health and Working Conditions Code are very, very important legislations. It starts with the oldest legislation, that is 1923 Employee Compensation Act. Many of the senior people who are present here, we are all familiar with the name of Workmen Compensation Act. Because when the act was enacted, its name was Workmen Compensation Act 1923, and it remained as it is up to 2010. And 2010, through an amendment, the name was changed. Not only the name, there were 2 major amendments was brought in 2010, which of course you may know, otherwise you have to understand. See, up to 2010, under the Workmen Compensation Act, there was only provision to pay compensation. But who will meet the treatment expenses? So some people were giving, some people were not giving. But if you legally enforce, if you want to approach a court, there should be a law and somebody should violate. So the one major amendment in 2010 was the provision for extending all treatment facilities and the expenses are to be borne by the employer. That was one change. Another change, up to 2010, the clerical staff were not included in the act. So they were also included. So first one is Employee Compensation Act 1923. The second is, sorry. I'm sorry. This is with reference to, this is with reference to the Social Security Code. The Occupational Safety Code starts with the Factories Act. Anyway,
sir, your presentation is to be uploaded or something?
Yeah, I will show. This
Okay.
is just introduction. Anyway, whatever we have discussed, it is also very important points, especially with respect to this Employee Compensation Act. So the Occupational Safety, Health and Working Conditions starts with the Factories Act, 1948. Then Plantation Act, 1951. Then the Mines Act, 1952. Then two legislations, working journalists and newspaper employees, conditions of service, 55. Then 58, their newspaper employees and conditions of service, fixation of their wage rates. Then the BD and cigar workers establishment. Then comes the motor transport workers conditions of service. Then contract labor. Then the sales promotion employees. Then the interstate migrant workmen. Then 81 cine workers and cinema theater workers conditions of service. Then building and other construction service. In between, that is 96. In 86, that dock workers, health, safety and Safety Act has come. So these are the 13 legislations contained in this Occupational Safety, Health and Working Conditions Code. But if you look at an overall view, whether any real consolidation has taken place or not, yes, really the consolidation has taken place, especially with respect to Occupational Safety, Health and Working Conditions Code. Because if you look at a macro view, the 1,232 sections contained in these 29 labor legislations were codified into 480 sections. That means it is reduced to 38%. But look at the Occupational Safety, Health and Working Conditions Code. This is where the real consolidation has taken place. Because these 13 legislations were containing 644 sections, it is simply reduced to 143. That means it is reduced to 23. Why? Because, see, the code on wages that brought the legislations which are pertaining to wages. But act to act, there was not much similarity. What is the relation between the Payment of Wages Act and the Minimum Wages Act? No. But in the Occupational Safety, Health and Working Conditions Code, this much consolidation has taken place because, you see, it is Factories Act, Plantations Act, Mines Act, BD and cigar workers, newspaper establishments, contract labor, ISM worker, etc., etc. Every act speaks of working conditions. Every act speaks of leave. Every act speaks of safety. Therefore, in almost all the cases, it was all repetition. That is why that much consolidation has taken place. 644 sections has been reduced to 143 sections. That means it has been reduced to 23%. Now we will go through the presentations one by one. Can you see?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So we will go through the presentation. Historical background we have discussed. Yes. Now, today our discussion is specifically Occupational Safety, Health and Working Conditions Code. Now, first of all, what is the criteria of applicability of this code? So it says the code will apply to all establishments. What are the establishments? You have already discussed. Having 10 or more workers. The term worker is very, very important. The term used is not employees, 10 or more workers. If it is a factory, if 10 or more workers are there, yes, it is applicable. Or any establishment which is described, if they are employing 10 or more workers, yes, the act will become applicable. But the threshold of 10 is not required as far as mine is concerned and the dock work in a port and in the hazardous industries. See, hazardous industries are described in the first schedule of the Occupational Safety, Health and Working Conditions Code. There are 40 industries described as hazardous industries, like chemical industries, generation of electricity, etc., etc. So, in the hazardous industry, in a mine, and in the dock work, the criteria of 10 workers is not applicable. Even if there is only one worker, this code, provisions of the code will be applicable. Another thing, it's not very much concerned with us. See, all digital audio-visual workers are being brought under this code, because see, at present there is only one law which governs these people, that is cine workers and cinema theater workers conditions of service 1981. And 1981, you know, there was no television, there was, you know, metros, televisions were there, but was a limited access. But no television, no serial shows, no reality shows, no FM radios, etc., etc. Now all those people are brought under one category, that is audio-visual worker. That is another peculiarity of this code. Then another thing, generally Occupational Safety, Health and Working Conditions Code is not applicable to the government establishments, not government companies, government establishments like panchayat, municipality, corporation, other offices of the government. Government companies, it is very much applicable. But only one provision, it says that though the code is not applicable to the Occupational Safety, Health and Working Conditions, the code is not applicable to the government establishments. If any of the government establishment engage contract labor through a contractor, then whatever provisions applicable to a principal employer will be applicable to the government establishments also. Another thing we will discuss in detail, that is there is a major change with respect to the definition of contractor. See, it was a subject of dispute for many years. If the contractor is not having license, you absorb those people. If there is supervision and control, you absorb those people. Anyway, Supreme Court has put a full stop in 2002. In the case of Steel Authority of India, it said the legislative purpose is not regularization. It has only two functions: regulation and abolition. Regularization is not the legislative intent. Therefore, this regularization, it is out of the purview. It put a full stop in 2002. But one of the criteria for declaring a contract as a sham contract was always construed by the courts, the direct supervision and control. Now in this code, now that is going to be removed. The first part of the definition of the contractor is one who undertakes to produce the result of the organization is a contractor, perfectly matched with the current definition. If somebody undertakes to produce a result, I will do all loading, I will do all unloading, I will do all sanitation, he is a contractor because he is undertaken to produce the result for the organization. But the second part, that is where the change has come. One who supply the contract labor as a mere human resource will also be considered as a contractor. Now, the contractor doesn't know what the employer is going to do with his people. His contract is that on every shift, you supply 20 unskilled workers. For that, You recruit any number of people, keep any number of people on your muster roll. It is all your responsibility. But the contract is you supply 20 unskilled workers at the start of the every shift. 3 shift working, yes, 60 people you have to supply. Such a person will also be treated as contractor, and the supervision and control can be exercised by the principal employer. Just because principal employer has exercised the supervision and control, now nobody can raise a claim that they have to be absorbed or they have to be regularized, etc., etc. So there is a major change in the definition of the contract worker and contractor. And similarly, interstate migrant workmen, the legislation with respect to interstate migrant workmen is also going to be simplified. If the contractor engage the interstate migrant workmen, yes, they are included in the contract workers. No separate license is required. Then ISM worker, again, in the definition of interstate migrant workmen, there is a major change. See, today, if strictly speaking, as per law, if somebody has to become an interstate migrant workman, either the employer or his agent or his contractor should go to another state, and the recruitment should take place there, and they should be bring to their destination state. Where they are recruited, it is called the native state, and where they are brought in, that is called the destination state. See, in this, there was a lot of dispute, because if you look at the Constitution, Article 19(1)(g) gives freedom, or it's a fundamental right for any Indian citizen to go to any place in India and accept employment. So, in order to circumvent this provision, what was done is, they will be asked to come here and give an application, one application, next day 5 minutes interview, 1-line appointment letter, then they are appointed here. They come in search of a job, they are appointed here, whether they will become interstate migrant workmen. It was a legal question, the disputes were going on. Labor Department people many times, now suppose he belongs to another state, they were not agreeing. So now every such dispute is clarified. According to the new definition, it says if somebody belongs to another state other than the state in which he is working, he is an interstate migrant worker. Oh, then can we not recruit a person from Coimbatore as our finance manager? So therefore, one condition is put. Though this is the case, anybody belongs to another state will be an interstate migrant workman, but if they are drawing a salary more than 18,000 rupees, they will cease to be an interstate migrant workman. So that is the new definition of interstate workman. Another thing, if time permits later on, that we will discuss. See, there is a new definition of industry has come. This is in line with the definition of the guidelines laid by the Supreme Court in the case of Bangalore Water Supply and Sewage Board versus Rajappa and others. Though this decision has come in 1978, and accordingly the act, though the act was amended in 1984, it was not given effect because there were some confusion and some disputes were there. Now the new definition has come in the code. See, when Industrial Dispute Act was enacted in 1947, that was the time the industry was defined in that act as industry means any business, trade, undertaking, manufacturing, calling of employees, and includes any calling, service, handicraft, industrial occupation, and an vocational workman. This was the definition. Though it was a comprehensive definition, what happened? See, if somebody asks whether the Cochin Refinery or BPCL is an industry, nobody has got doubt. But when it comes to the gray area, the marginal area, there is a doubt. whether the Arya Nivas where we have gone to take a cup of tea, whether it will come in the industry, doubt starts. Whether there's a small nursing home is an industry, doubt. Whether yesterday I had gone for a haircut, there 6 barbers were there and one manager is also, owner is also there. Whether it is an industry, no, it is not an industry. This is what in our mind. So where there is the gray area or the marginal this thing, the employers will take a stand that ours is not an industry. Because if the labor legislations are applicable to any institution, any organization, any establishment, it should fall under the category of industry, otherwise not applicable. If the priest is terminated from a church, can he go to labor department? No, because it is exempted from the definition of industry. So in 1960, 70, there was a lot of confusion with the labor court, tribunals, even high courts, even Supreme Court. Now, why I am telling Supreme Court is, in 1960, there was a very famous case. That was with regard to Bombay Hospital. Management took the stand that it is a hospital, ours is not an industry, so that they cannot raise the industrial dispute. The dispute was between the management of Bombay Hospital versus Hospital Mazdoor Sabha. It went to Supreme Court. 1960. 1960, Supreme Court said, hospital is an industry. Therefore, they have all rights to raise the industrial dispute. It was a 2-member bench. But subsequently, after 10 years, another case, same case has come before the Supreme Court in a larger bench. That was 3-member bench. That was the case of the Safdarjung Hospital. There, it was just a reverse decision. Supreme Court said, hospital is not an industry. See, such was the confusion, even at that level. Then all these things were clarified in 1978 in the case of Bangalore Water Supply and Sewage Board versus Rajappa and others. This judgment is generally known as the judgment of Justice V.R. Krishnaiyer. It was a 7-judge bench, a larger bench. When it becomes 5, it becomes a constitution bench. This was 7 judges were there. So what they said is, forget about whether the activities for making money. On the basis we cannot decide whether it is industry or not. Forget about whether capital investment is there. Forget about whether it is registered under Factories Act or whether it is registered under Companies Act or cooperative society or partnership. Forget about all those things. We are suggesting a triple test. If that test is passed, every establishment, every organization, every institution will fall under the category of industry, and all these labor laws will be applicable. So that is known as the triple test of industry. So what is that triple test of industry? The first test the Supreme Court suggested is, it should be a systematic activity. Let us take the lowest, that is where we generally think that it is not industry, that a barber shop. It opens at 8 o'clock, works up to 8 o'clock. There is 1 hour lunch break, and all Tuesdays it remains closed. Whether it will pass the first test, it should be a systematic activity. It passes the first test. It is a systematic activity. Second test, that systematic activity should be carried on by the cooperation between the employer and his workmen. Yes, there is an owner and there are other 6 barbers are there. And on their cooperation only that activity is going on. So one step further, it says that these workmen, whether they are employed directly or through a contractor, it does not make any difference. Then the third test is, yes, it passed the second test also. The third test is, it should be for the production, distribution and sales of goods and services calculated to satisfy human wants and wishes. That's all. So it is our want that we have to do haircut. If it is a wish, okay, some mushroom cut or some designing is required. So it passes the third test also. Then there are certain exemptions like military, naval, air force, police, domestic work. It is exempted. Sovereign functions of the government, it is exempted. But otherwise, if any institution, any organization, any establishment passes these three tests, it will be classified as an industry. Accordingly, now in the new definition, in the new code, the new definition has come. Then you may ask, then what is the present position? The present position is also same only because it has not come in the statute, but because it is a decision of the Supreme Court, the present position is also like this only. If it passes the three tests, it will become an industry. But it has not come in the statute book. But because it is a decision of the Supreme Court, yes, it is in force. It is applicable to all lower courts in India. So accordingly, new definition has come in the code, and this industry definition has given in the Industrial Relations Code and the Occupational Safety, Health and Working Conditions Code. And it says industry means any systematic activity carried on by the cooperation between the employer and his workmen, whether such workmen are employed directly or by or through any agency, including a contractor, for the production, distribution, sales of goods and services calculated to satisfy human wants and wishes. Now, though this definition has come, there is going to be a bigger dispute once this code comes. Because though the new definition as per the direction of the Supreme Court has come, what in this code has come is that the establishments which are primarily for the philanthropic and social activities are exempted. That means many of the institutions in Kerala also, they are exempted under the income tax, and the social and philanthropic charitable institutions, they are exempted. So today, the workers enjoy the protection in those establishments. If they are dismissed, they can go to the labor court or conciliation, then labor court, etc., etc. But once this is exempted from industry, that protection will be removed. So anyway, that is going to be a very big dispute. Let us not spend time now. But this you have to bear in mind. The exemption is given to social, philanthropic, charitable society. Then another, the provision which has come. See, today, whatever accident happened inside the factory, the occupier is responsible. Now, there is a responsibility shifted to the manufacturers, designers, importers, suppliers, architects, project engineers are made responsible for the accident arising out of the design or manufacturing or construction. When you erect this thing, it can be erected either by the party who supplied or you can do. But the only thing, it specifically says that when you erect, you should, when you operate also, when you are, or even if you are erecting, it should be strictly as per the manual. So therefore, make the people understand, take videos of the erection, and if something happens because of the manufacturing defect, because of the design defect, because of the construction defect, yes, these manufacturers, importers, suppliers, architects, project engineers, they are also made responsible for the accident in this legislation. Now, the code brings certain new responsibilities on the employer, which is going to be some responsibilities which is going to increase your expenditure. The first one is that with respect to annual health checkup. Now the mines, etc., the annual the health checkup, etc., is there. Now, according to the Occupational Safety, Health and Working Conditions Code, all the employees who has completed 45 years of age as on date of the 1st January, within 120 days, they have to undergo a health checkup. And it is not simply just testing the blood or urine. There is a format under form number 5. It contains 5 pages. It's a very, very detailed this thing. It has to be done by a medical practitioner, and after the medical examination, the copy of that medical report is to be given to the employee also. And all those employees, those who are completed 45 years of age, as on 1st January, within 120 days, that is before the 31st March, the medical examination is to be done. And this is applicable, but only to factory, dock, mine, building and other construction workers. So this is one position. And another is appointment letter. So is it mandatory that suppose in a factory we appoint a person, but we don't give any appointment letter? Is there any violation? There is no violation. You cannot be prosecuted because nowhere it is said that appointment letter is to be given. In the Shop Act also, it was the same thing. But Shop Act was amended in 2015. And in the Shop Act 2015 amendment says that if you want to employ a person in the shop, you have to issue him an appointment letter in form number BC. So in 2015, that legislation has come in the Shop Act, but still, with respect to all these establishments, many people give. Some people give very elaborate appointment order. Somewhere it is only 1 page, somewhere it is 2 pages, somewhere it is 3 pages. Suppose you go to an IT company, it is 30 pages. But if you do not give, it was not a violation. Now that has been made mandatory. There is no specific format specified in the code, but there are 15 items which are given, like starting with the name, ESI code, PF code, the opportunity for earning higher remuneration, their advancement in career, etc., etc. 15 items are given. So you have to issue an appointment letter containing these 15 items. Now, after the code comes, suppose you want to appoint a person, you have to issue this appointment letter containing these 15 items, which is given in the Act. Suppose in an existing establishment, they are working. So what to do? So there, it can be 2 situations can come. The first situation is you have not issued an appointment letter. So things are clear, there is no ambiguity. You issue an appointment letter containing these 15 items and 3 months time is given to you for completing this process. If the code is implemented on 1st April, May, June, before 30th June, you issue. But some confusion comes with respect to the establishment in which the appointment letter is already issued. But out of these 15 items, only 10 items are there. So it is not proper, I don't think, to give one more appointment letter. But whatever is left out, that 5 items, you make a addendum and issue to that particular worker so that it becomes a full appointment letter as per the code. Now, another very important thing is with respect to the reporting of accidents. See, reporting, there are, with respect to the reporting, the Occupational Safety, Health and Working Conditions Code says 1 with respect to accidents. 2nd, with respect to dangerous occurrences. 3rd, with respect to certain diseases. So with respect to accident, it is divided into 2. one, the accident resulting in death. No time frame is there. Immediately over telephone, it should be intimated to the inspector cum facilitator, chief inspector cum facilitator, then the district magistrate, that is the district collector, and station head officer of the nearest police station, and the family members and relatives. And it can, and the act says subsequently you can send a mail or letter, whatever it may be. But immediately, if the death is there, yes, this is to be intimated over telephone, followed by email or whatever other methods. Then, if it is an accident which does not result in death, and if the absence from the work is less than 48 hours, no reporting is required. You may have to enter in the register and forget about it. Then it says, suppose there is an accident. You have entered into the register, but the person started working next day. But after 3 days, he developed some problem. Then another 2 days, he has not come. Then also, once 48 hours absence is there, within another 12 hours, you have to report. Then another is the reporting of the dangerous occurrences. This is with respect to dangerous accident. Now, dangerous occurrences, there are 16 dangerous occurrences are given in the act, in the code, like bursting of a pipeline, whether it is carrying oil, water, anything above atmospheric pressure, collapse of the floor of the this plant, or collapse of a derrick, collapse of a crane. There are 16 items which are given. So if any of these things happen, whether there is injury to anybody or not, if that occurrence is any of the items mentioned in the 16 item list, you have to inform to the inspector cum facilitator and the district collector. District magistrate means district collector. A crane has fallen or collapsed, but it was lunchtime, nothing has happened. No, you have to report. If these 16, if that happening is listed in the 16 items, you have to inform the inspector cum facilitator and the district magistrate, means district. Then there is a list of diseases given in the third schedule. And if the employee contracts any one of the diseases listed in the third schedule, it is the responsibility of the employer to inform the authorities. Then, see, in this act, there are certain duties, certain responsibilities, certain rights are given to the worker also. See, worker, one duty or responsibility given is that it is his duty to help the employer to comply with the provisions of Occupational Safety, Health and Working Conditions Code. But at the same time, he has also been given a right. That is, suppose he feels that there is imminent danger, something can go wrong and the injury or accident can happen to human being or any of the people there, he can intimate the employer. According to me, that is in a dilapidated condition, it can result in accident and death or injury. Then what the code says is, if the employer agree, yes, it is correct. He asked his maintenance manager to go and inspect. He also says that, yes, sir, it is whatever he said is correct and we have to rectify. Then absolutely there is no problem. You take out the rectification, matter goes. But if the employer disagree, he sent his maintenance manager, he said, sir, that is there for last 5 years. Nothing is going to happen. There is no change. It was there in that condition. It remains there. So there is no rectification is required. So then in that case, there is a dispute. Then what to do? So what the Act says is that refer the matter to inspector, facilitator, and his decision will be final. So that is the way it has to be handled. Now, factory, see, safety committees, their numbers has been reduced. In factory where 500 workers or more are there, you have to have a safety committee. But factory carrying hazardous process, that is, if your factory is any one of the factory which is listed in the first schedule of the Occupational Safety, Health and Working Conditions Code, yes, or even if 250 workers, you have to have a safety committee. Similarly, building and other construction workers, for 250 workers, a safety committee should be there. In mine, where 100 or more workers are ordinarily employed. Ordinarily employed means the average employment of the last 1 year. But in all other places, it is not mentioned. Only in the mines, it is mentioned that ordinarily employed. In all other places, if it is 500, yes, you don't count the what was the average strength last year, etc. That is not there. Only in the mines, it is given that, yes, if the average of the last 1 year is 100, then you have to constitute. So that is one thing. Now, there is a very, very major change which every employer should be aware of that. See, this is what probably the trade unions or other people are not understanding, and they are making hue and cry. See, every responsibility or with respect to the contract laborers is being shifted to the principal employer. See, now Contract Labor Regulation Abolition Act. There also the provision is there. If 250 workers are there, contractor is engaging 250 workers, he should provide canteen. Suppose he is not providing. What is the remedy provided in the Contract Labor Regulation Abolition Act? It says you again go on telling the contractor to issue, but even after 6 months, the contractor is not issuing, then you provide the canteen. But you don't incur that expense, recover that money from the contractor. So this is the provision. Now, once the code come, contractor with respect to these providing safety, health, working conditions and welfare facilities, contractor has no role. It is all to be provided by the principal employer. The canteen if 100 workers, now 250 is reduced to 100 workers, including contract labor. Principal employer has to give. So sections 23 says the responsibility of the employer for maintaining health, safety, working condition. There it comes the latrine, urinals, controlling the temperature, humidity, etc., etc. So many provisions are there. You know better than me. So the responsibility with respect to 23 and the responsibility welfare facilities with respect to 24. There it comes a washing facility, bathing facility for drying the clothes and the locker rooms, the ambulance room, lunch room, rest room, canteen, etc., etc. And there is a new introduction that with respect to transgenders, so far it was the separate facilities to be provided for the male and female. But once the code comes, another gender is coming, that is transgenders. In 4 items, transgenders are to be given separate facilities. 1, latrines and urinals. 2, bathing facility. Washing, yes, no need, but bathing, they should be provided separately. Similarly, lunch room, because up to when it becomes 100 workers only, you have to provide the canteen. But if there are 50 workers, under the code, you have to provide a lunch room. And that lunch room facility, transgenders, it should be separate. Similarly, rest room, they should be provided separately. So 4 things. Other things that the old division will continue, but latrines, urinals, bathing facility, lunch room, restroom, these things for the transgenders you have to provide separately. Now, the most important thing in the 23 and 24 itself, it says that it is the responsibility of the principal employer to provide all these facilities. In 24.4, you see subsection 24.4, you see it specifically says, see, building and other construction workers, those who want the living accommodation, cannot be a full-fledged accommodation. A living accommodation is to be provided near to the workplace. There it specifically, section 24, subsection 4 says, by any chance, suppose the contractor has given the living accommodation, you have to, you as the principal employer, okay, our contractor given, now my responsibility is over. No, the act says whatever money incurred by the contractor for providing the living accommodation, you have to pay him. And apart from section 23 and 24, section 53 again reiterates that the health, safety, working condition as prescribed in section 23 and the welfare facilities narrated in 24 is the responsibility of the principal employer. Again, it is reiterated in section 53. So this is one thing which is a major change. Actually, many of the trade unions, etc., they are without understanding this. Not only this, look at the Social Security Code, the maternity benefit, gratuity, everything is going to come on your head. See, today as a principal employer, what is your responsibility? Suppose you give a work on contract. What are your responsibilities? Specifically, it says only about the wages. That is, Contract Labor Regulation and Abolition Act section 20 subsection 4 says, if the contractor does not pay the wages or pay only partial wages, it is the responsibility of the principal employer to pay the wages, either balance or full. But what are the other legislations which the principal employer is today responsible? One, Employee Compensation Act. You can give contract, contractor can give subcontract, but subcontractors, man meet with an accident, he is entitled to make the claim against you. It's very clear. Act as well as the Supreme Court decisions are very clear. So, other than wages, one more responsibility is with respect to the accident under the Employee Compensation Act. Another, if employer do not have Provident Fund Code, it is your responsibility. Fourth one, if employer do not have code, ESI is your responsibility. But once the code is going to get implemented, see, today, suppose contract labor is not paid bonus. Are you liable to pay? No. Especially under the light of the Kerala High Court judgment in the case of Kominko Binani, it is clearly stated that for these contract workers, this bonus and gratuity, principal employer is not liable. All those things are going to change. First of all, let us see what is the provision for bonus in this act. In this code says, no, actually, now instantly I am telling not in the occupational safety, but I am just telling about the principal employer's liability, other than 23 and 24. In the wage code, it says, if the contractor doesn't pay the bonus. So there can be two situations. That's one thing which very, very sensibly they have done. The situation number one says, though the contractor has not paid bonus, no worker, no union is coming to you with a complaint. They are adjusting it themselves. They said it's not proper for our part to make the complaint. We are working with him for last 15 years. He will give. Maybe delayed for 2 years. They have confidence. They have not coming to you with any complaint. Neither the worker or the unit. Don't do anything. But the code says, suppose the contract workers or the union makes a complaint, then it is your responsibility to pay the minimum bonus. The contractor last year must have paid 12% bonus. Don't pay all those things. Minimum bonus you have to pay. This is one responsibility. Then the major shift with respect to maternity benefit, with respect to gratuity, apart from this 23 and 24 welfare facilities, it's all going to be the responsibility of the principal employer. So this is a very serious thing. Actually, this is beneficial for employees. I don't know why these unions are making. Can they show one provision which is totally against them? Yes, some provision they have left out with regard to bonus that we will discuss if time permits later. Other than that, it's all favorable to workers only. Everybody is going to have a minimum wage, bonus, and this gratuity. Principal employer going to be liability. See, today in many places, good principal employers, good companies say, okay, they provide everything. Otherwise, what happens? Suppose latrine is not there or not sufficient. When they go to the personal manager, they say, why are you coming here? Go to the contractor. When you go to the contractor, sir, what I can do? I have only 10% commission. I am also running this business only for making a livelihood. I have no extra money. So these hide and seek was what is going on in many places. But all those things are going to end. Now it will be the responsibility of the principal employer. Now, okay. Welfare position, I have told you, adequate facility for washing, locker rooms, then keeping clothing not on during the working hours, sitting arrangement for all the workers obliged to work in standing position. Then canteen, instead of 250, it has been reduced to 100. 100 in mines, yes, periodical medical examination is also required. Transgenders, this we have discussed, which are the facilities they are entitled separately. Yes, temporarily living accommodation, this is what I have told you. If it is provided by the contractor, you have to reimburse him. Hours of work, yes. Now, we hear a lot about the hours of work. That is, now they are going to be 4 days week. You work 12 hours on 4 days and 48 hours completed. Of course, you will not get all the 48 hours because there is another provision that after 5 years, you have to give half an hour interval. So even if you work only 4 days, it will be only 11 hours into 4, 44. Now, Section 25 says, central government has extended this spread over 10.5 hours to 12 hours. The other things are in a daily either 8 hours or in a week 48 hours, after 5 hours, half day rest, etc., etc. Now Kerala rules has come. Now the question is whether 4-day work is possible in Kerala. No, it is not possible because Section 25, 1 subsection B says with respect to the spread over, the appropriate government can decide. So Kerala rules has come. It says that the spread over will remain at 10.5. It is not increased to 12. So 12-hour working is not possible, but there is a provision. If it is the requirement of the industry on any count or facilitates or workers are also will have no problem, and technically or any other reason this 12-hour working is required, then there is a provision given in this Kerala rules that you convince the labor commissioner, and he has been given a discretion. Yes, under certain circumstances he can allow 12-hour working. Otherwise, generally Kerala government has not accepted this 12-hour working. So this is one thing. Then overtime, that is another interesting thing. Today, the normal overtime is 50 hours in a quarter. Now that is going to be increased to 125 hours without any special sanction. Even today, the special sanctions provisions are there. But the most important thing, a very funny thing, which has been, though the hours of overtime has been increased from 50 to 125, the overtime can be done only with the consent of the worker. I do not know why these clauses they have brought. In fact, one team, I still remember, one team had gone to this Delhi, our representation had gone. So they have specifically asked, what is this, madam? They say, okay, you increase the overtime, that's a good thing. But why then with the consent of the worker means it will be worse than what is in existence? You know what was their answer? Anyway, I don't know whether I can quote all these things. They said, no, you have been given from 50 hours to 125 hours. So they should also be given something, isn't it? No, that is why we have kept that provision. You see, what sort of explanation, what sort of, we do not know. Anyway, we cannot discuss further. See, that means suppose a person, suppose an employee refuses to do overtime and goes away after his thing, you cannot take action. So today, what is the position? Can you take action today? Anyway, now that is to be first cleared. Suppose employee says, no, I cannot do overtime, I'm going. Can you charge sheet him? You can charge sheet him provided in that quarter, if he has not completed 50 hours, yes, he has to. But if he has completed 50 hours, unless there is some special sanction, you cannot force him, because that's what law says. He need to do only 50 hours. But now when the code comes, nothing is possible, because if the worker has to be made work overtime, it can be only with his consent. Anyway, these are the things. It has already become the law. Nothing can be done. Now, annual leave. A lot of changes with respect to annual leave. See, let us see what are the provisions of annual leave today. Then correspondingly, what are the changes? Number one, annual leave in a factory is calculated based on the calendar year. There is no change. Annual leave in a factory is calculated on the basis of the calendar year. Because if you go to shops and commercial establishment, it is not like that. It is not calendar year. From the date of joining to 1 year. So anyway, we are not concerned at this point. So one is, it should be based on calendar year. Yes, new code also says it should be based on calendar. Now, an employee, a worker has to first of all to become entitled for annual leave. To become entitled for annual leave, he should work 240 days in a year. So this is the only place where the actual attendance is taken. So that means average 20 days in a month. Now that has been changed to 180 days. Even today, absenteeism is a big problem. Now it will be much bigger problem. So instead of 240 days, the entitlement eligibility criteria is reduced to 180 days. Average 15 days if he has come in a year, yes, he is also entitled for the leave. Third, the leave is calculated at the rate of 1 for 20. So that remains same, except the adolescent, there is a separate law. Even today, that is there. Now, another thing is that, okay, leave is calculated on calendar year basis. You should have 240 days, and now once the code comes, it is 180 days. Suppose a person joins in between. A person joins in June. Then whether he will get any leave or that year he has no leave, wait for the next year, then only you will get. No, there is a provision that if anybody is joining other than 1st of January, 2nd month, 3rd month, 4th month, or any period, the count the balance actual working days. And if he has come, attended duty 2/3 of those working days, you give him one leave for 20 days. Now, in the code, the change is instead of 2/3, he need to come only 1/4. If 1/4 days, if he has come, somebody has not joined on the 1st of January. Suppose he has come rest of the days 1/4. Today, if he want to become eligible for the leave, 2/3 attendance should be there. Now that has been reduced to 1/4. This is another change. Now, another major change is, we know as per the Factories Act, the maximum accumulation is 30 days. And if you do not utilize, then it will get lapsed. So that provision is going to be changed. That is, it will not get lapsed. But the maximum accumulation is kept at 30 only. But if a person has got 25 days leave, and he will, by December, he will come to know, yes, by virtue of the attendance, yes, he will earn another 10 days. So that it will become 35 days. So, as on today, he will lose 5 days. It will get lapsed unless he utilizes it. So now the provision has been brought at the year end. Suppose you are going to lapse any leave when this year's leave is added, that quantum of leave which is going to be lapsed, you can encash. But maximum is kept at 30. But if any particular employee is going to cross that 30 and going to lapse, then whatever is above 30 at the year end, he can submit an application. And yes, once it is calculated, he can be paid. This is one change. Another change with respect to leave, I don't know whether everybody is aware of these things. See, as per the Factories Act, the earned leave can be availed only 3 times in a year. But if it is to cover an accident means outside the accident or the sickness, this restriction of 3 times is not required. It is not valid. Any number you can. Now, the another thing is, all these things are going to be removed. You can avail any number of times. The restriction of 3 times. Another provision is there. As per the Factories Act, if you want to, okay, 3 times, you can avail at a stretch also. But you have to submit an application 15 days before you want to avail the leave. And if it is a public utility service, as per the Factories Act, you have to apply 30 days before the leave. And the law also says that when a worker in the properly adhering to these rules, when he apply for this leave, that is 15 days notice, the management generally has no authority to refuse. If he refuses of any genuine reason, then accumulation of 30 will not be applicable to him. So these are the changes with respect to the annual leave. Encashment, yes, we have discussed 3 times. Yeah, for holiday falling in between the annual leave will not be counted. Even today it is like that only. If a person is on leave for the entire 1 month, actually you can reduce only 26 days leave from his leave record. So that provision will continue, and another, that provision is also there, that also will continue. That is, suppose a person is terminated or resigned, the leave, whatever is due, it will be paid within 2 days. Yeah, now let us come to section 38, special provision for the special power to inspector cum facilitator. You see, there is a special provision. Suppose when the inspector comes to know and he comes to the site and he is convinced that imminent danger either to the workers or to the outsiders, those who are living nearby, he can ask the occupier to stop the plant. If it is the entire factory, it is like that. Or a particular plant, yes, it is like that. You can order then and there to stop and evacuate the people, make the rectification, and then only start the work. And it specifically says, if you have opportunity to utilize these people, you use elsewhere. But because of this order, they could not be engaged. You cannot deny the wages, you have to pay the wages. But one provision is that the inspector cum facilitator has got authority to stop the plant only for 3 days. Suppose it is to be extended further, it can be done only by the chief inspector cum facilitator. And against the order of the chief inspector, against the order of the inspector cum facilitator, the appeal lies only to High Court. So this is another provision. Yes. Then now major one provision is that is employment of women in factories and the other establishments. So in shops in Kerala, in 2018, the amendment has brought in, and under the conditions, the women also can be deployed during night. So this was quite long time with respect to factories, etc. It was pending. Now, once the code comes, the women can also be employed during night. That also, even in the hazardous process, also with adequate protection, they can be employed. Then there are conditions. So first is, what is meant by night? You can employ women employees. Night means, what is night? Is it after 9 o'clock? Is it after 10 o'clock? Night means after 7 p.m. and before 6 a.m. This is the first thing. Then the first condition is that the consent of the women should be there. Suppose there is no consent, you cannot employ her during night. Second is, the places where she is working should be well lit. Good lighting arrangement should be there where she is working and in the passages. Third is that latrines and urinals should be made available. Okay, suppose in a normal case it is half kilometer away, workers. So night, suppose there is another latrine or urinal, maybe for officers or something like that. You may have to allow him. She cannot be asked to go half a kilometer. It has to be made available. Second thing, if you want to pick up a women employee for a work after 7 p.m. or if the work closes after 7 p.m., in both the cases, you have to drop her at the doorstep. You cannot ask nearby pickup point and okay, you go. You cannot say. You have to drop her at her residence. And similarly, if it is after 7 p.m., you have to pick up her from her residence only. You cannot ask her to come to that highway. Then we will pick up you from there. Up to 7 o'clock, it is okay. After 7 o'clock, go to her home and pick her up. So that is it. Second thing, another thing is that employer should ensure that their safety, especially all safety measures with respect to the women employees under Sexual Harassment of Women at Workplace Prevention Prosecution Act, that has to be ensured. So under these conditions, and the mine, though we are not very much concerned, there is a provision that if it is an underground mine, then the women employee alone cannot be. It should be a group of at least 3 women employees. So these are the conditions under which the women employees can be deployed once the code comes. There is no restriction, but these conditions are to be adhered to. Otherwise, it will result in violation. Contract labor, we have discussed the change in the definition, etc., etc. Now, what are the major changes with respect to the management of the contract labor? First thing is that today the Contract Labor Regulation and Abolition Act is applicable once you start employing 20 contract labor or as a principal employer or a contractor having 20 contract labor. So contractor should have the license and the principal employer should have the registration. So that 20 is raised to 50. Up to 50, no license is required. Then another thing. Now today, suppose as an employer, if I want to engage the contract labor, I have to obtain a registration under Contract Labor Regulation and Abolition Act 1970. On the basis of that registration, if I engage a contractor who is having 20 or more than 20 contract workers, I have to issue as a principal employer a certificate in form number 5. That certificate, along with the license fee and the security deposit, he has to apply for license in the form number 4. So that is the procedure now. Now things are made very, it is simplified. That is, principal employer need not make a separate registration. He need not take a registration under the Contract Labor Regulation. Anyway, that act is also going to be repealed. So he need not have any separate registration for engaging the contract labor. There is only one registration. All establishments having 10 or more than 10 workers, it has to register in the portal. So there is a big format is there. In that, there are 2 columns. One is how many contract labor you propose to engage. So you say, I propose to engage 300 contract laborers. Okay. The next column which is asking you is how many ISM workers you propose to engage. You fill up 50 or 100. Your job ends there. No separate registration is required. It is only one registration in the portal, but all these details are to be given. Then after that, how the contractor will take the license? You have no registration, no certificate is required to be issued, etc., etc. So what the code says? The code says you, once this information is fed in the system, in the portal, after that, you issue only work order. That's all. And with the work order, yes, you go to the competent authority appointed under section 119. If it is the appropriate government, the central government, go to the authority appointed by the central government under section 119, or if it is a state government, is the appropriate government, go to the authority appointed under the state by the state government. Contractor has to go with the work order only. Of course, the security deposit and the license fees is to be given. Now, there is a major change in the security deposit. So, security deposit, now it is generally 100 rupees, that has been raised to 1000 rupees. But this 1000 rupees, the contractor need not pay. Like today, you have to produce a challan, you have to remit the money in the treasury and you have to produce it. That is not required. In the application, whatever number into 1000, you submit in the form of the bank guarantee. So far, suppose there is any violation of the contract conditions, of course, it will be forfeited at the time of refund. But this 1000 rupees has got another purpose. That is, if you do not pay the wages, and subsequently, if the principal employer also do not pay the wages, issue a notice, then engage the BG and make the payment to the workers, whatever is possible by that money. But pay only the minimum wages. You may be paying more, but the authority is liable to pay according to the minimum wages only. Okay, that money has gone, let it go. No. Within 15 days, if the bank guarantee is encashed within 15 days, if you do not replace the bank guarantee, your license will be cancelled. So this is another provision. So it has been raised to 50. Though it is raised to 50, there are certain circumstances under which even more than 50, the provisions will not get applicable. That is, if your establishment classified under seasonal or an intermittent activity, seasonal character, then the contract labor part will not be applicable. But if you want to classify your establishment as a seasonal factory or seasonal operation, then it should not work more than 120 days in a year. That means only 3 months. Then there are another certain exemptions. It's a very logically done. It is very, very reasonably done. That is, you see, there are now the contract labor system, the concept is changed. Today, the concept is that if it's a perennial work incidental to production, you cannot engage contract labor. But even if you engage, nothing is going to happen because the violation will come once the government abolish the contract labor system, appointment of contract labor under section 10 of the Contract Labor Regulation Abolition Act, and you engage the contract labor. Otherwise, you engage, but it is a potential threat because perennial work, incidental to production, you cannot engage. Now, all those things are removed. There are 11 items described which are termed as the non-core activities. Core activity is defined only in one sentence. Core activity means the activity for which the establishment is set up. That's the only word. But non-core activities, specifically 11 items are described like watch and ward, collection and disposal of all types of waste material, civil construction, mechanical construction, all maintenances, including the mechanical maintenance, canteen, running of school, or if it is by the factory or the institution. So like that, 11 items are excluded. There you keep, straight away you keep the contract labor. You not ask, you cannot, nobody can prosecute you. So that is one thing. Second thing, another thing which you have to be very careful is that, see, there can be a situation that you have 200 workers are working, contract laborers are working. And you had shown in that in your registration, and there are 3 contractors who is having more than 50 workers, so that they all the 3 has got license. But suddenly a small work has come, which we have to give to an expert in fabrication. But it requires only 25 people. But at the same time, section 54 says, once you have 50 or more than contract labor, if you engage a contractor not having license, again you are punishable. 2 lakhs is the penalty. Then what to do? So here, one place it says that unless you have 50, you will not get license. The another place you says, section 54 says, if you engage a contractor, once you have 50 workers, suppose you engage a contractor who is not having license, you can be prosecuted. Then what is to be done? So therefore, go to section 46. In 46, one provision is given that in such circumstances, the authority under section 119 is empowered to issue work-specific license. So you issue the work order to this contractor. It requires 25 people for 6 months. So work-specific license can be issued. So such provision is given. But 54 clearly says once you have deployed 50 or more than 50 contract labor, you cannot engage a contractor or workers from a contractor who is not having license. So these are the provisions with reference to the contract labor. Then another thing I have told you that the very wisely or very reasonably is just done. Okay, now assume that in your non-core activity, in the core activity, now it is done by contract workers. So when the code comes, what you should do, what are you going to do with these contract workers? Because they are there, they were working for many years. Can you remove? Especially in Kerala, it is not at all possible. Therefore, one provision is there. If it was done ordinarily by the contract workers, continue. Don't make any problem. The normal functioning of the establishment is such that the activity is ordinarily done through the contractor. Yes, provisions are not applicable. Then, it is a core activity, but it does not require full-time work. 4 hours you do, then another 2 days the material is there. Yes, exempted. There you employ more than 50, no license is required. Any sudden increase of volume of work in the core activity. So these are all considering the practical. You got an order, but you know this order can be executed and order will be over in 6 months. Engage the core activity also. You engage contract labor. So these are the certain things which have been done very sensibly. As a good provisions are there. Yeah, this is all we have discussed. Security deposit, yes, 1,000 rupees increase. We have liability of principal employer. Yes, this is everything is going to come under principal employer. This is I have told. Apart from 23, apart from 24, 53, it reiterates liability of principal employer for welfare facilities. 54, I have told you, effect of employing contract labor from non-licensed contractors, 2 lakhs is the punishment. Non-payment of, yes, contractor, we have discussed. For activity, yes. Yeah, another thing is, if a contract worker asks for a experience certificate from the contractor, yes, on demand, you need not, at the time of retrenchment, you give experience certificate, no. Whoever wants, if they submit a request, you have to issue a certificate. There is a provision for common license, that is if a factory, contract labor, BD and cigar establishment, there is a provision which is given for the common license. Similarly, now you need not run every year to the authority, the license will be for 5 years. Similarly, there is a provision that if you want, you can have a all India license, or if you have works in 3 states, you can obtain the license from here itself. But in that case, suppose you have work in Tamil Nadu, you have work in Karnataka, but that Tamil Nadu and Karnataka work, or even here, the work, the appropriate government is state government. Imagine that you are working for the state government, PWD also. But in that case also, if you want to have a license for more than one state, then you have to go to the authority appointed under section 119 by the central government. So he has to coordinate with the state governments and can issue the license at his end. Experience certificate, yes, we have discussed. Liability of the Yes, it's only repetition, 23, 24. Interstate migrant workman. Yes, this we have discussed. So everybody will be an interstate migrant workman as long as he belongs to another state and draws salary up to 18,000 rupees. Then, what are the benefits to be given to the interstate migrant workman? Their accommodation, everything has gone. Now, not much liability. One is that if he works 180 days with him, he has to be given a lump sum amount not less than the second class sleeper class from here to his native place. Then another this thing is public distribution system. He may come with his family or his family may be there. So the government has to evolve a system so that he can avail the public distribution system, that is ration, either at his native place or his destination state. That is one thing. Then the appropriate governments has to establish a helpline number. That is for two purposes. One is the interstate migrant workman asks, sir, what are the benefits which is available to us? And also the other purpose is if he wants to make a complaint, he just call on this toll-free number and make the complaint. Study of ISM workers says it is government's job. Past liability. So, yeah, this is another provision. That is, you bring an ISM worker or somebody has come, you give him job, he worked for 3 years, his account is settled, he has gone. After that, your accountant says, sir, one mistake. There was a loan of 5,000 rupees which was not reflected in the final settlement. Or the storekeeper says some material was issued, I was not there, the assistant storekeeper was issued, he had written in some other book. So it is worth 5,000 rupees. Section 65 says, once his account is closed, a claim against him will not stand in any of the civil court in India. That money is gone. So before settling, properly see everything is included and settled. If he's done some criminal case, yes, it will stand. Factory, yes, there is a definition, a change in definition of factory, but that is not applicable with respect to the registration, etc. Registration, etc. You have to do when it is 10. Power to court to make orders. Okay, that is apart from these things. See, penalty, prosecution, everything is okay, but things are to be done. So the court has got powers. Yes, whatever is there, you have avoided, do it. Limitation of prosecution. This is another thing which you have to be very careful. As on today, the prosecution can be taken within 90 days. So that has been increased to 6 months. Additional benefit to legal heirs. That is in the case of accident, the courts have been now given power that whatever is stipulated in the law under the Act, the court can go up to 50% extra compensation and can be given to the dependents. Yes, registration, special powers, 38 we have discussed. Compounding of offences. Yes, this compounding of offences. See, the general rule is that on the first time, the offences can be compounded. But there is a condition that in the penalty, the imprisonment should not be more than 1 year. That's the first condition. Though it is the first time, but the imprisonment is more than 1 year, then it cannot be compounded. Then, now the offense falls under two categories. One, the imprisonment is not there, only fine. Then imprisonment is there, which is only up to 1 year. So there is a difference in compounding amount. In the first case, if it is only fine, 50% of the maximum amount you remit and you can compound. Even if the case is filed before the magistrate court, it can be compounded. But suppose the penalty involves the imprisonment. Beyond 1 year, no compounding. Up to 1 year, the provision is that instead of 50%, you pay 75%. And you can compound the offense. But the offense under 102, 103, 104 cannot be compounded. So what is this 102, 103, 104? 102 violation with respect to hazardous operations. 103 accidental death. 104 we told you that 38 the inspector and chief inspector has got powers to stop your plan if he feels imminent danger. If these violations takes place, no compounding is possible. Similarly, preventing the inspector, though it is only 50,000 rupees and 6 months, again, there also the compounding is not possible. This is 102, 103, 104. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, we can take.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Very, very extensively covered. A very short time, but I think non-stop, very deep. I think covered very, very extensively. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
A couple of, maybe we just quickly look at a couple of questions on the chat box.
Yes.
The first question, dear sir, suppose the number of workers under a contractor is changing. In sense, new gays are coming under a contractor on a continuous basis. How will we ensure statutory is updated?
No, as long as the number is within that limit. So 10 people have gone, 10 people have come, there is no problem.
Okay. The second question from Mr. Jayakumar Ji. What are the changes reflecting in Chapter 4A Safety of FA Factories Act 1948? Is there any changes?
Now, as far as this safety is concerned, almost the provisions are same. There is that separate provision for the hazardous industry, like that special committee, what it is called. So all those provisions are kept as it is. There is no change with respect to the provision. Occupier is responsible, and who can be the occupier, who can be an occupier in the government factory. Every provisions are kept as it is. There is no change in the safety provisions.
Okay, thank you, sir. Any other questions from the audience? Kindly post in the chat box if you have any doubts. Yeah, thank you, Jayakumar, sir. Quick questions, if any, or doubts any, kindly get it clarified.
Yeah, one Mr. Santosh Kumar. Either he can unmute and ask, or
One question from Mr. Ravichandran J. Workers engaged in hazardous operations has to undergo half-yearly medical examination. It has to be similar with extensive labor age 45.
No. See, such a special conditions, it is kept as it is. This is a new condition, whether he is a hazardous or not. If he has completed 45 years, yes, within 120 days. The other things, he minds, even before you appoint a person, he has to undergo a change. And periodically, all those things are same, but this is an addition. Just because this is there, the other provisions, special provisions are not exempted.
Okay, thank you, sir. I hope Mr. Ravichandran, your doubt is answered. Any other questions? Nipu,
Yes, sir.
from Kumi, online returns are permitted without special approval.
There is another advantage of this codification in general. That is, all licenses are made online. Therefore, it will be faster and unwanted issues will not be there. And not only that, suppose you perfectly load all the requirements, and suppose they don't give this thing. After 7 days, it is a deemed license. That provision is also there. And you need not submit the return under every contract labor, one return, one register, ISM, another register, Factories Act, another register. It's only one register and one return, and that too only annual return.
There is one more question.
Yeah.
If we are engaging contract labor for an activity like container loading as and when required only, is there any difference in principal employer liabilities?
The principal employer liability, you see, when he engages more than 50, you have to insist that the contractor, if he is having more than 50 workers, he should have license. Or if the establishment is having more than 50 workers, then also if the contractor is having less than 50 also, then he should have a work specific license. Once the organization having 50 or more than 50 contract worker, then no contractor can be engaged without license. So that is why that special provision under section 46 for specific, that work specific license is kept. Otherwise, suppose the loading contractor is having only 20 and the law says if you do not have 50, you will not have license. At the same time, the law says if the organization has already employed 50, then you cannot employ a contractor having no license. So those provisions are kept. We can comply without much problem.
We will take one last questions, moving out of time. What are the provisions for employing women employees now with respect to working hours?
See, women employees now, unless there is a special sanction like the peeling, etc., etc., the Kerala, that sanction is not there for employing women during night. Shops and commercial establishment, I have told you, yes, it is already there. Or some exemptions. For example, IT. It was earlier also, it is exempted. Women can be employed during night, etc., etc. So, as of now, women cannot be employed unless there is a special permission under certain circumstances, that is like perishable commodity, etc., etc. See, in some high courts it was allowed, but unfortunately, you know, even the cases of these perishable commodities, Kerala High Court did not allow. They said we are more concerned with women than the perishable commodity. So that is what one judge has done. Anyway, that is all going to go under the conditions. You can, once a code comes, you can employ. That it specifically says you can even employ in hazardous operation, but adequate protection and precaution.
Thank you. I think with this, I think we close session on question answers. Thank you very much, sir. First of all, a very extensive, elaborate session on occupational safety, health and working conditions code 2020, covering gamut of right from evolution to applicability, where government institution not getting covered, the contracted definition, extensive coverage on what the definition of interstate migrant labor, responsibility of the manufacturer covering as a principal employer, role in terms of even issue of appointment letters, accident reporting, dangerous occurrence, safety committee requirements, canteen requirements, health safety, welfare provisions, working conditions. So I think over time, annually, I think you almost extensively covered, including the engagement of women employees, especially in night shift. We thank you. I think very, very good eye opener with respect to people getting ready to embrace the changes. As you said, I think I don't understand why people should find fault with this system. I think it's extremely labor friendly provisions to me from what I have heard from you. And hopefully we will have a better conducive working conditions inside establishments. I now invite the joint convener of HSC Forum, Ms. Meenu Vijayan, to deliver the formal vote of thanks. Over to you, Meenu.
Mute.
Meenu, you are muted.
Sorry, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir. It's a privilege to deliver vote of thanks on this proud day. Without delay, let me proceed with my assigned duty. Firstly, I would like to thank Shri P. Pramod, Director of Factories and Boilers and Chairman of National Safety Council Kerala Chapter, for being present with us and supporting this event as he always does. He is our guide, and we are striving to achieve the vision and mission of National Safety Council Kerala Chapter under his leadership. Thank you, sir. I would like to thank the speaker of the day, Shri Varkiachan Pettah, for delivering an excellent and interactive knowledge sharing session. We hope that our participants have gained several insights through your experience shared today. On behalf of National Safety Council Kerala Chapter and all participants, a big thanks to you, sir. Thank you. I extend my sincere vote of thanks to our Honorary Secretary of National Safety Council Kerala Chapter, Dr. Ramesh VM, who has passionately spent his time and energy towards spreading the safety messages across all platforms. I would like to appreciate Sri Nayar Nandakumar, Senior Associate Vice President of Carborundum Universal Limited and the convener of HSE Forum Kerala, who have put in huge effort in organizing the webinar series for the whole week. Thank you, sir. Also, I would also like to thank my HSE Forum committee members and HSE Forum friends for your support extended during the webinar. Last but not the least, a big thanks from National Safety Council Kerala Chapter to all participants who have managed to join today's session among your busy schedules. We expect your participation and support in our upcoming programs too. Thank you. Have a safe day ahead. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Meenu. Thank you all, and hoping
Thank
to
you.
see you all tomorrow also, being Sunday. An interesting session by Dr. Abraham Varghese on hospital waste management in Kerala. So looking forward to meet you all tomorrow. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, everybody. Bye bye.
Bye.
Bye, sir.